Today I'm putting my heart in your hands, literally. In the past week, my tiny little channel has almost quadrupled in size. We're currently at around 400 subscribers. And while that's not huge by anybody's standards, I'm incredibly appreciative of all of the support that I've received from every single one of you. So I created this, a 3D printed heart that literally beats for my channel. When it's just sitting here, it pulses red like a regular heartbeat. But the magic happens when one of you subscribes. It explodes into a rainbow celebration, complete with cheering and applause. Because that's exactly how I feel every time someone new decides to stick around and watch my silly little videos. So let me show you how I made this. As you can see, I've got the parts for this build printed off, but I just wanted to take a second to appreciate how cool this design is. This comes off the build plate exactly like this. So what's happening is the printer is actually bridging these lines of filament between this internal heart model and this external support ring. And the end result is that the heart appears to be floating in midair, suspended by these strings of filament. It's a cool technique, and I can't wait to show you how it emphasizes some of the LED lighting effects that we're gonna add to this in later steps. So let's not waste any time. We've got the Tin Man heart, let's give the Scarecrow a brain. This is a microcontroller, specifically a XIAO ESP32-C3. And this is what's gonna run all of the code for our entire project. This one is arguably a little overpowered for what we're using it for, but this is the only microcontroller I had on hand that has Wi-Fi built in. And being able to connect to the internet is vital, because essentially what we're going to do is pull YouTube data every 60 seconds or so. When the microcontroller detects a change in that value, that's what's gonna trigger the light and sound effects that we add in later steps. This part's a lot of code, so I'm gonna spare you the boring details, but suffice to say, after a couple hours of tinkering, I was able to get a successful proof of concept running. The next challenge that I have to tackle is the audio. I've got my first iteration breadboarded up here, but unfortunately it's just not as effective as I had hoped. My initial plan was to use this tiny MP3 player connected to a small unpowered speaker. And essentially what it does is plays an MP3 track that's loaded on this SD card. And what I can do with that then is when the subscriber count increases, I can trigger the audio track and play a heartbeat sound that I preloaded on the card. Unfortunately, what I discovered is that the ESP32 and the MP3 player that I'm using don't exactly play nicely together. So I had to connect them in a sort of unconventional way. And it works, but unfortunately it makes it really hard to control the volume. And because I'm not amplifying the audio signal in any way, it's essentially so quiet, it's unusable. I think what I'm gonna do to get around this is use something that has a built-in amplifier. I have these old computer speakers that I haven't used in quite some years, and I'll just tie those directly to the MP3 player. I did a quick test with the speaker and it worked just great. I've got the soldering iron out and I'm gonna clean these wires up really quick so they're easier to breadboard with, and then I'll give you a quick demonstration. It's a little cleaner and easier to work with. So I got this thing all wired up and let's give it a shot. So I'll just push in this SD card and working as intended. So we've proven that the subscriber polling works and ironed out any kinks that we were having with the audio hardware. And we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The LED lights, that is. This is a strip of WS2812B LEDs, and all you really need to know about these for right now is that they're addressable LEDs, which means that I can write color or brightness information to any individual LED on this strip independently. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I put together a quick demonstration using this short test strip to help you understand the concept of addressable LEDs better. So first, let's start with the basics. In a normal LED strip, all LEDs are lit at once. And since these are RGB LEDs, I can control the color. So if I wanted to, I can turn them red or blue. But here's where addressable LEDs get interesting. Because these are individually addressable, I can also turn on arbitrary LEDs. Just like that. I'm lighting up the first LED in red and the fifth LED in blue. Each LED has its own address, like a house number, so I can tell each one exactly what to do. And with a little math and code, we can even do neat animations like this. And of course, once you understand the basics, you can create much more complex effects. So that's the power of addressable LEDs. Looking at the documentation that came along with the model, it looks like the intent is to have the LEDs run around the inside, kind of like this. The designer did 2 wraps, so we will too, but we're gonna do them in a slightly different way and take advantage of the addressability of the LEDs. And what that's gonna do is give us a little bit more control over that animation later in the process. So a quick test fit seems to indicate that 32 LEDs will give us the best coverage with no overlap. And you can actually cut these LED strips at any point on these copper pads. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna create 2 32 length LED strips instead of using one 64 length LED strip. And then what I'm gonna do is actually solder these back together with these wires in between them. And I know what you're thinking, but just bear with me for a moment. There is a method to my madness. All done. Now, why do this? Why use 2 32 LED strips instead of one 64 LED strip? Well, remember that we're using 2 wraps. So what happens when you use 2 wraps is that the relative position of the LEDs becomes somewhat arbitrary. By soldering these together, I'm able to create a U-turn. And remember that these are addressable, so I can light up individual LEDs. So if I wanted to light up just this section of the model, I can light up LEDs 32 and 33. If I wanted to light up just this section of the model, I can light up LEDs 31 and 34. It just gives me a lot more control over the animations later in the process. I did a quick test fit just to make sure everything was functional, and it appears to be working just fine. Like I said, there's a method to my madness. And here's a really quick test of a heartbeat animation. So now I'm gonna pull the adhesive backing off the back of these LED strips, stick them on the inside of this housing, and with that, the lamp section of this will actually be done. And here you can see how I lined these up on the inside to make almost like a 2 LED matrix. Then the heart portion of this just drops in right here, and this retaining ring snaps over the top. And there we go. And just a really quick demo just to make sure everything's working fine. It's important to test in between each step when you're doing a project like this, just to make sure you didn't break a solder or accidentally short something. I love it when a project goes smoothly like this. And because we broke it into smaller bite-sized pieces, all that's left now is just to put it all together. I've got to do a little coding. I'm gonna upload that to the ESP32 and then we're done. Let's just walk through this one more time now that we've got it all put together, just for fun. Now, this is just a demo program because I needed to show you how it works, and I don't have the ability to control when somebody subscribes to my channel, but it'll work exactly the same with live data too. The default state of the lamp is this red heartbeat pulse. The first thing that happens is the ESP32 connects to my Wi-Fi and queries YouTube for my current subscriber count. Now, like I said, this is a demo, but if that subscriber value changes, this celebration mode is activated, the audio is triggered, and this rainbow pulse effect is played in place of the heartbeat. And I also added this second animation at the end. I have a personal goal to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, because for YouTube creators, 1,000 subscribers is where the magic really starts to happen. So what this animation does is display a sort of color-coded progress bar towards that goal. And the closer I get to this goal, the more that color starts to shift from red to orange to yellow to green. Just a little something to keep me motivated. Well, it's with a heavy heart that I have to let you know this is the end of the video. You're heartbroken, I'm sure. Special shout out to Maja or Maha, I'm not sure how you say that, for the original heartbeat design. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to check that out, or maybe even make your own. If you've enjoyed this video or you have questions about the process, let me know in the comments. And as for my subscription counter, well, I've done everything I can do. The rest, it's up to you. Thanks for watching.